Pressures are dropping. Yeah, they're dropping Tampa and Sarasota, but Sarasota's dropping much quicker. That is the center of the eye. Now I'm getting ready to move onshore. Part of it already is. That's why their ears are popping like that. The rain extends all the way up into Georgia from this, just about to Savannah. And then some rain, some bands that went through the Keys. But you can see the bottom of the rain. Look, there's Sanibel right there. And that's almost the bottom of the rain. There's some dry air getting sucked in around the back side of this. And so the heaviest rain is going to be there right along and north of the eye wall. Big time storms. That was that tornado damage we saw over on the East Coast. Those storms have moved offshore. Now it's the wind damage that's pushing in right here and the very heavy rainfall. 8 to almost 9 inches of rainfall in some of the heavier spots so far here, and that will continue to add up over the next 2 to 3 hours especially. The highest winds are right there on southern Pinellas, MacDill, out through Apollo Beach, almost over to Ruskin as well. There's the eye. It is just about moving onshore now. Again, obviously those pressures are dropping. But let's talk a little bit about the surge levels because 8 to 12 for Fort Myers. It's still, the latest forecast was 9 to 13 for the Sarasota area. Unfortunately, that's beginning to verify because we've got a sensor that is basically just to the south. Everything locked up on me here. Let's see if we go here. Oh, we'll just let this go. That's fine. This is going to go up for lower numbers here. And in fact, we showed you video earlier out of Crystal River where the boats were sitting on the bottom because the water went out. That's a good problem for them to have. They will not have much of a surge out there at all. They've got a negative surge going up right now. So let's talk about this spot. This is Walker Creek near Sarasota. This is behind the south end of Longboat Key. 8.8 foot surge. Forecast 9 to 13. That's where the surge damage is going to be. Okay, guys, that's the problem. This area happens to be south of where that eye wall is, and so those winds are actually pushing onshore. Okay, and that's why we're seeing so much of that. I mean, I think we could go probably another foot or so because we are just now getting the center onshore, which means we still have winds blowing onshore. All right, and I do think they're going to drop down just a little bit. Yeah?
Bobby, I know you're going to get to this, and I know you've got a lot to get to, but a quick question for you. I know you tell us how quickly the storm is moving in terms of how fast that eye wall may move from one space to the next.
Yep.
What are we looking at? I mean,
about 17 miles per hour.
17 miles per hour.
It looks like it's slowing a little bit, but about 16 to 17 miles per hour off towards, well, it's the northeast, but it looks to me like it's going a little bit more east-northeast. And the center is going to come in, I think, south of Sarasota, between Sarasota and Venice. Look at the wind gusts at Sarasota just now. 93 mile per hour wind gusts in Sarasota. And we expect higher winds in southern Hillsborough and northern Manatee County. So that's why they have the extreme wind warning for this area of Manatee County and southern Hillsborough County. 69 mile per hour gusts in Clearwater, 77 in St. Pete, 53 in Tampa. We go back to that Sarasota Bay camera and see what it looks like now. It's still, I would imagine here it's calming down just a little bit. And yeah, it is. You can see a little bit of those palms down at the bottom there blowing a little bit, but nothing like what it was before. What you notice here is you don't see the wind blowing the rain a lot. It's not raining much. There's really no rain in the eye of this hurricane. And that's what's pushing across Sarasota right now. Don't let that fool you because it is going to pick back up. We're going to continue to see winds, but they're going to actually push in from the north and the west. Very heavy rainfall as you get into parts of, let's see, northeastern Hillsborough County. There are the wind gusts that we've seen, 54 in Clearwater. You've also got 53 in Tampa, 89 mile per hour peak gusts so far in St. Pete. That's with the wind coming across the bay there. Obviously, the highest so far is 93 in Sarasota. But these numbers are going to start to go up here in central and eastern Hillsborough and eventually over into Polk County as we go through the next 2 to 3 hours. That's when the storm system is going to move through. Here's some other numbers. Egmont Channel, 77. Same thing, Sarasota, Bradenton, that was earlier. Now, obviously, 93. MacDill's seen 52. Lakeland, 52. Tampa's in the 50s now, although as of 6 o'clock, we had 44 mile per hour wind gusts. So everything seems to be verifying. And then the forecast here is going to keep the gusts very high through midnight. And then they start to come back down. So, again, what time we got here? We've got some time, right? Next 3 hours or so. We're going to be seeing very high wind gusts. This is what concerns me a little bit, especially if you live out on the coast. And this includes even Newport Richey, Port Richey area, but Tarpon Springs, Clearwater Beach, Dunedin. Some of these winds, especially when they get going in out of the north and the northwest overnight tonight, it's going to be a loud night. It's going to be loud out there on the coast because that wind's going to be coming off the coast. And these numbers are for Tampa. You could add 5 to 10 miles per hour onto your locations. If you're right along the Pinellas coast, the Pasco coast, I'd add 5 to 10 to those numbers for gusts overnight tonight because once that W shows up, that little bit of a westerly component, it's going to be coming in off the Gulf, and there's not much to slow it down. So we're getting there, guys. It's still, the timing does look the same as far as peaking out with our winds, and that will be right around midnight. I think the eye comes in here right around 9 o'clock. All right, well, between Sarasota and Venice, and then we'll slowly work its way in. So as that happens, the wind field expands a little bit, and that's why you don't see these numbers going anywhere. And it's because that's the part of the process of the system weakening. It actually kind of stretches out a little bit. So we're getting there. We're about, what do we got here? 6 hours of the worst weather, and then things will start to get a little bit better here. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the radar. And we can see that basically we've got watches and warnings have been going away. Not as much as what we've been seeing lately as far as the tornado warnings. But you can see that we're going to keep those as we go through the rest of the, well, I'd say rest of the hour. Let's just call it that because tornado warnings have moved off the coast, but the watch is still in effect. And some of these bands do have the chance of producing something. It's not a whole lot that I'm worried about at this point. Wind speed so fast, it's tougher to even do that. But the main concern is going to be this northern part of the eye wall right here. Just about there, right? So I'm thinking somewhere in here by where it says 75, that would be landfall within the next 30 minutes. So Venice, Vemo will get it. I think that's where we're going to get the official landfall here. Again, coming up in about less than 30 minutes or so. So that's why things have quieted down there just a little bit. Unfortunately, you get up in here, and this is where we're starting to see that surge of almost 9 feet. So hopefully we've seen most of that, and it only peaks out maybe just a little bit more. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot more out of that, but I do think there is a chance that it holds there, at least for the next hour or two. Back to the big picture, and the folks up north, we haven't talked as much about Crystal River because you haven't seen as much, but look where all the rain is. And this is really going to pile up. In fact, the highest numbers are going to be Pinellas, Hillsborough, Northwest Hillsborough, Northeast Hillsborough. Those areas are going to end up with about 10 to 12 inches of rainfall. And I've seen video. My friend's sending video too. Dan, thank you for that. It's showing the neighborhood, and it's going to fill up pretty quickly out there. Guys,